Hello. This tape will present a heterogeneous guided process reading group at the intermediate level. The inquiry is focused around the theme of survival. We will view intermediate students participating in discussions and thinking about a core literature selection. The reference pages used in this guided process reading session are included in your Accelerating Literacy Training Handbook. This lesson will include processing text, text analysis, and logging information. The students in this group have previously met on 3 different occasions to discuss Island of the Blue Dolphins. Individual and cooperative group projects to this point have been assigned, chosen, and/or negotiated with the teacher. Projects extended into content areas of history, social science, geography and math, and life science. Students will continue to add information to their projects as the story is read. Today's lesson will begin the study of chapters 9, 10, and 11. Chapters are clustered according to the rise and fall of the storyline. 3 groups of students read different sections of the book with the teacher. While the teacher is meeting with the first group, the second and third groups read either individually, cooperatively, or with a partner. Group 1 reads chapter 9 with the teacher, while groups 2 and 3 read the chapter with a partner. The teacher then discusses chapter 9 with group 2 and continues the chapter cluster study by reading chapter 10. Group 3 discusses chapters 9 and 10 and reads chapter 11 with the teacher. If approximately 20 to 22 pages of text are covered on any one day, a selection such as this one would need 2 to 3 weeks of study. The teacher begins the session with a brief review of students' log entries and then guides the group through an unread section of the book. The teacher meets with each guided process reading group for 20 to 25 minutes. The purpose of small group reading instruction is to actively engage every student in processing text. Reluctant students are more inclined to participate when placed in small groups. All right, let's look at chapter 9. Okay, what I want you to do is I want you to read ear to ear for this next thinking stop, and then we're going to discuss it. And notice the figurative language that the author is using in this introduction to chapter 9. Okay, go ahead and read to your partner.
Am I reading to you?
Yes, you're reading to me. Okay, you go ahead.
I do not remember much of this time, except many suns I thought about what I was to do. I thought about what I was going to do.
I was not till I didn't know that I belonged did I leave and only go to gather. Yet I do remember the day that it decided that I would live in the village.
But I do remember the day I
It was a
decided
morning
it
of
would.
thick
I
fog
would never
and the
leave
sound of waves breaking onto the shore.
Together,
I was offering ashes left to much the village of Galasai.
Okay, thank you. Turn around now. You go ahead and turn around. When you're finished, you can turn around.
Fire vanished. Then I made a fire against the wall of the house. When it was burned to the earth, I started a fire in another house. Thus one by one I destroyed them all, so that there were only ashes left to mark the village of Galasai.
All right, here we go. How did the author set the mood for this? What were some of the words and different phrases that he used? Look at the first page there, where it says it was morning. A thick fog. What kind of mood are you getting here of the author? How's he setting that? Give it a go. How do you think? What did you notice?
That it's like a foggy day and everything.
Okay, but what is this creating in this character's mind, in Karana's mind?
That she's alone and
She's alone, all right. So she's thinking about being alone and the mood that's being created. Okay, so she's alone and she's feeling lonely too, right? Okay, so this is the main character. How about what she's feeling? Look at that part. What is she feeling here? Tell me.
Sadness.
Sadness? Because,
her brother died.
all right.
She's alone.
And what about the village?
Well, she doesn't really like the village because
It reminds
it reminds her of her brother.
And
All
even
right.
the people who used to live there.
She could still hear their voices of her.
All right. So the author gives us that feeling that she has by using the fog, and she's saying, what about the fog? Read me some of the phrases that tells what she's imagining here about this fog. Can you read one of them? Do you see one there with a phrase there?
It was morning of thick fog and the sound of far-off waves breaking on the shore.
Okay, now what is the fog reminding her of where it says, fog crept in and out? What is it when the author uses something like fog? What's the literary device that they're using? Crept in and out. It's taking on what? Can fog really creep in and out?
No, it was just sort of drifting in and then coming out again.
All right, so he's doing what we call personification, so that it's taking on human characteristics. Can you find someplace else where it's taking on a human characteristic?
I had never noticed before how silent the village was.
All right, so it's creating a silence. Read on the next paragraph. What is she noticing about the other things that's going on? Where else is he using personification or that literary device to set the mood?
Where it says seeing the shapes and hearing the voices.
Seeing the shapes and hearing the voices. Okay. I thought there was one more place where it was talking about, the noise of the surf. Look at that piece. Read that for me. Read that for
It
me.
was a morning of thick fog and the sound of far-off waves breaking on the shore.
And the noise of the surf.
The noise of the surf seemed to be their voices speaking.
All right. So Karana's feelings, her thoughts, this is going to be her thought side, is what we want to sort of map today. And this is her feelings. Is there anything else that I could add to the board at this point about Karana's thoughts or feelings? You think she's feeling alone? You think she's feeling sadness?
She's thinking of the people who left her and her brother on the island when they sailed away.
She is. And how does that make her
Mad.
makes her mad, you think?
Angry that they left.
Angry? All right. So let me put that over here
Sad that they didn't think.
of her.
Yeah.
All right.
Depressed.
Depressed. All right. Where would I write that?
Probably in the feelings.
All right. She is depressed, isn't she? So how did she? What was her reaction to this?
Her thinking of him.
What did she do?
She thought of before everybody left.
She burned the houses.
She burned the houses.
Oh yeah, she
to
burned the
forget-
houses.
To try and forget what had happened.
All right.
Try
So she's
and
trying
make
to
a clean
forget.
slate.
Okay.
She's-
All right. So her thoughts are to forget. And the way she did that was
Burning the houses.
she burned the houses.
And she also tried to mark it by burning them so she would never go there again. So she would know that that was the place that she didn't want to go anymore.
Oh, now, what made you think that? That's a good insight.
Well, when it said, only ashes left to mark the village.
All right. Okay. The next part that I want you to do is I want you to read it to yourself and to the next thinking stop. And we're going to continue to think about her thoughts and her feelings, okay? And I'm going to come around and listen to you read sections of this. So read the next few paragraphs. Okay, could you read for me? Let's get you up just a little bit.
There was nothing to take away with me except
Okay, you just read quietly. Go ahead.
a basket of food. I therefore traveled fast and before night fell.
Okay. Okay, could you just read wherever you are?
Just got to this part.
Okay, go ahead.
I had a club I found in one of the huts, but I needed a bow and arrows and a large spear. The spear which I had taken
A spring of water flowed from a ravine nearby.
Okay, then kind of like a little stream.
That night I climbed onto the rock to sleep. It was flat on top and wide enough for me to stretch out. Also, it was so high from the ground that I did not need to fear the wild dogs. Bye.
Thank you, Glenn. But is there anything that you could identify as being a problem now for Karana? Could you write that in your log? We're continuously charting the problems that she's encountering. And the theme being survival. What is the problem that you think she has after she has burnt the village? And you can just write in phrases if you like, not complete sentences. Okay, someone want to share what they have? What your thought is? Okay, got yours?
Yeah. Her thoughts are like memories.
All right, that is a problem for her. Okay, so she has a concern. She's got to deal with, the issue is that she's got to deal with memories. Okay, I think, and I'll put that over here. An issue is memories. Okay.
Worry?
An issue is worry. What is she worried about?
The wild dogs finding her new camp.
All right. So an issue that she has to deal with would be wild dogs. She needs it, and she also needs.
She also needs some spear, a bow, arrows, and a spear because the only spear she had was just good for spearing fish.
All right. So she needs some weapons. Okay. For these wild dogs. So some of the problems or the issues at hand would be listed here. Now, in dealing with that, we've got to deal also with some concerns that might be related to the issues or the problems involved here. Any thoughts about what she's trying to do? We said she was trying to forget, which is related to the memories, and any feelings that you've come up against as you've read there. Any additional feelings you want to
Revenge.
add? Revenge.
For killing her, for the wild dogs killing her brother.
Did you find that? Can you read us a little section that tells you about the revenge?
Well, when she was like making the weapons.
Okay. She mentioned, can you find the part to read? Can anyone find that about the dogs and the revenge? Where she felt revengeful? Find it anywhere? She said something about killing them. What?
This gave me time to make weapons to protect myself from the dogs.
All right. So one of the issues here then would be
Protection.
protection. Exactly. So the wild dogs then, let's go back over here, and so we're sort of blending these two together today for protection. Okay, these all of those are related.
I found a part about the revenge of her getting her.
Okay, go ahead and read that then.
I felt the wild dogs would sometime attack me. I would kill them all one by one.
All right, excellent. Has anyone gotten to the part about making the weapons and a concern that she had for making the weapons? How about right over in here? What did you find?
The laws of Galahad forbade the making of weapons by women of the tribe. So I went out to search for any that might have been left behind.
Okay, now then, she can't make weapons to protect herself.
Because her people's laws forbid it.
All right, so women were not supposed to make weapons. So, does she have a concern if she makes the weapons?
Yeah.
What did she think? Can you find the part and read it to me that tells you what she's feeling about that?
Would the four winds blow in from the four directions of the world and smother me as I made the weapons?
Okay, let's see. Who's in her group for reading? You're in her group for reading, and you're in her group for reading. Every other one, you're in her group. Can all of you finish that paragraph together there? Or would the earth tremble?
As many said, and buried me beneath its falling rocks. For as others said, would the sea rise over the
Okay, what is she concerned about? What's her concern? That she's going to be what?
She is going to be, the island's going to be flooded over. That because she made weapons.
That's
and
one thing that could
the
happen.
gods are gonna
Another thing that could happen.
The earth would tremble and she'd fall.
And another thing that might happen. What would happen if?
Would bury her beneath the rocks.
Okay, so what is she worried about?
She's afraid
of
of being
these-
punished for making weapons.
Punished. All right, I'm afraid of being punished if I do this thing. So an issue that's involved here is that in her culture, she would be going against something in her culture, wouldn't she?
She'd be going against her people's beliefs if she made
All right,
weapons.
all right. So an issue is going against.
And she'd probably be like more scared that she might die and her family's gone.
Now you know no one's on the island except for her now. Right. So, what are you thinking about the character who might have this concern about making the weapons against her cultural beliefs? How do you think that's going to make her feel when she has to go against her culture?
Badly.
Huh?
Kind of like a traitor.
Maybe like a traitor, do you think? Did you get that feeling from reading it? Now she might feel, we might predict that she's going to feel that way. I don't know if she does or not. Did you get any indication from reading that page that she did on page 62? When she decided to make the weapons?
It was right here.
So she's decided to make the weapons, and you think this means that she's thinking rather than,
She's thinking, I feel very guilty right now.
all right, you think she's feeling guilty. All right. Any other ideas for her thoughts? You think she's not going to let this guilt, though, keep her from making the weapons, is she?
The weapons are the only way she's going to get her revenge for her brother's death.
Well, that's a way to think of
she
it.
can live.
That's the only way she can live. All right, now.
Knocking things with rocks in the head.
It's the only way I can live. So, isn't it interesting that when they had like a cluster or a community or a tribe, that every person in the tribe had a particular thing they needed to do. Like the men did what?
Hunted.
They hunted and they made the weapons. All right. And what did the women do?
They gathered
Okay, got all that. Now,
They'd also gather seeds.
was it necessary then for them to have that particular rule or that particular way of looking at things? So that, why was it necessary that they said, okay, the men are going to do this and the women are going to do this?
Because they felt that the men were stronger and the men deserved to hunt.
It could
The
be.
time.
Is Karana going to be strong enough to make the weapons?
Yeah.
Maybe. We don't know for sure. Whenever you have a tribe or something like this functioning, everyone sort of does their part.
Why they gave them certain jobs, like the men went to hunt. So just because, so everybody didn't do one job and then something didn't get done and they die.
So some of the rules that we have or the concerns that we have are based on how to make it function better, right? So why do you think she felt that she would be punished if she broke the rule?
Because that's the way she grew up. So that she grew up.
Yeah, she's used to that. She
Alright.
was used to her dad or her mother or her sister being around and saying, "Oh, you can't do this. You can't do that. We have to stick to our jobs."
Okay.
The way she feels that they're still with her.
All right.
So,
All right.
How you've been raised not to eat cookies out of the cookie jar before dinner. It's like you teach your kids to do that and on and on.
All right. But is it really a moral issue here that we have? Or is it just something that we need in order to function? Take your classroom, for example. Suppose one day that you missed the bus for a field trip and you were the only one in the class. Would you need the rules of the classroom to function that day if you were the only one in the classroom?
No.
No, you wouldn't, would you? This is sort of the situation she's in.
They're mostly that's just like, don't do this or you'll hurt somebody else. There's nobody else there.
Exactly. Okay, all right. Now we're going to finish this chapter. Partner with one. And you're my partner again, aren't you? Okay. The dogs did not come to the camp during the time I was making the weapons. So every night I could hear them howling.
Once after the dogs come to the gray hair and yellow eyes.
Once after the weapons were made, I saw the boy on the back, the one with the gray hair,
His head shows on the top of the tree.
I had gone to the ravine near water, and he stood on the hill above the tree, looking down at me. He stood very quietly, with only his head showing over the top of the cholla bush.
Okay, finish reading it by yourself to the end of the chapter. When you're finished, write another problem or any problem that you feel Corona has had to face in this chapter, and then maybe write the solution that she came up with, if she did. Okay, look at the problems that you've listed with Corona, and what do you think was the most difficult problem that she faced in this chapter? What would you say was her most difficult? It might vary from person to person as to what they thought. You think the wild dogs? Mm-hmm. All right. He thinks the wild dogs was the key problem. What do you think?
That the ship didn't come in the end, so she had to stay the winter and then the spring there on the island.
All right, so she is
Feeling abandoned. She's feeling abandoned.
all right. So you think her abandonment is her problem then?
I think the memories.
You think the memories would be
of
the
her
one?
brother and people.
So could we just circle this as being alone, part on the island? Anyone else got an idea of what you think the key problem? Do you have an idea? What do you think? Being alone, the memories, or the wild dogs, or what?
I think being alone, the way every morning she'd wake up and she'd see if her family came back during the night.
Okay, all right. So we've got alone here. Another person says alone.
I think the wild dogs.
Okay, so we got 2 votes for the wild dogs. Who hasn't contributed to this?
I
It's to be her
think
key
her
problem.
main problem is going against her culture because she's been raised from a baby on this.
All right. So the cultural issue. Okay.
I think she's feeling like she might not live because they're not coming.
Just being, all right. Just being able to survive or live.
I think it's the wild dogs.
You're going to go for the wild dogs? Okay. As you see, characteristic of this book. Karana's survival has taken many different avenues, and she's had to deal with many things in order to survive. Some things related to one another. How do you think she's doing? What are your thoughts about this character?
I think that she probably, if she was right here, right now, she'd probably give us some very good reasons about why she thinks this.
Even this one,
Yeah,
right here?
probably she'd have a very good reason.
She's mad because I left her there.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you feel about what the character is thinking? Do you think that the character's thoughts are something that would be logical for someone in this situation?
Yeah.
Very logical.
All right, very logical. What do you think about the character's feelings?
I think that it would be logical for somebody to feel sad after somebody left them, angry at them for leaving them, depressed because they want somebody to talk to, and revengeful because they want to get back at them for leaving them.
All right, so we're going to leave all of these things up here. Anyone want to change anything? All right. Okay, now you're going to go back to your desk and you're going to continue reading and mapping chapters 10 and chapter 11 in the same way. At the end of the small group sessions, the teacher used a problem solution map to summarize the 3 chapters. All students referred to their reading logs and made suggestions as to what Karana's main survival problems were and how she solved them. Their comments were added to the visual map. This problem solution map will continue to develop as the story is read. Teachers often collect evidence from students' reading logs in order to assess their thinking. These entries are placed in students' reading portfolios. In addition to evidence of reading stage descriptors collected from cooperative, teacher-guided, and individual situations, reading portfolios may house a variety of entries such as a list of books the student has read and oral reading miscue analysis records. Entries and responses may also be collected from parents and students. The purpose of small group guided process reading instruction is to raise the active thinking of students. The group was heterogeneous. All students were able to recognize 92% or more of the words in the text. However, 2 of the 9 students were not considered stage 8 due to their comprehension skills. Teachers were asked to highlight the lesson components they observed and to mark the descriptors or standards that the trainer covered. As students move through the grades, comprehension skills from previous grades are reinforced on more difficult books. The reading portfolio shows where a particular comprehension skill becomes a standard. Teachers observed the following guided process reading procedures: students with individual books, prior logs, high-level questioning, visual mapping, log notations, and use of reading techniques such as ear-to-ear, choral variation, silent, and partner reading. Using the critical thinking taxonomy in the middle of the lesson plans, the trainer-coach asked students to consider interpretive, inferential questions at the analysis and interpretive levels, and critical questions at the comparing, appreciating, and generalizing levels. A total of 16 different objectives or standards were covered. Many of the standards were addressed more than once. Standards included analyzing level, interpreting level, and critical level. There were 72 student responses during the lesson. All students participated in the group discussion. 19 or 26% of the responses were related to citing evidence. The remaining 53 or 74% of the responses were also at the inferential, interpretive, and critical levels. Some of the students' responses were included on the visual map. The trainer coach focused her questions around Karana's thoughts, feelings, issues, and concerns. The visually mapped responses included thoughts, alone, forget, live, survive. Feelings, sadness, anger, depression, revenge, traitor, guilt, abandon. Issues, memories, worried, wild dogs, weapons, protection, going against cultural beliefs, and concern, afraid of being punished. 100% of the students' responses were at the inferential, interpretive, or critical levels. The lesson lasted 24 minutes and 15 seconds. What I'm saying here is that even though that you're in a situation where you're in the 6th grade, you're in a heterogeneous group, so you're targeting more than just stage 8. Remember we said that this is a cumulative effect. Obviously, the very first thing on the folder listens to and enjoys a wide range of stories and books would continue throughout. You keep that developmental piece growing all the time. I think it's important for kindergarten teachers to know what the end result's supposed to look like, what the first grade teachers need to know. Where are we headed? Where are we going? If we don't know where we're going and where we're headed, we probably won't get there. Any questions? No. To establish. Okay, could we come back now to discuss as a total group? One of the questions that came up was, how does the support services work into this? We see that the regular classroom teacher is responsible for 4 groups a day, 20 minutes each. I mean, sometimes they're 18 and sometimes they're 22, okay? But approximately 20 minutes. And this is not the job of the support person. They do another flex. So really, if you think about it, how many times has this student who is below standard really had GPR? This one is not really on their processing level. This is on their thinking and listening level. But this is the actual processing of the text. Now, one of the reasons that we're in the mess that we're in is that this has been going on, and sometimes this has been going on whole group. There weren't groups. And it was just the core. Ideally, this is the core. And no one was really giving these children GPR on a daily basis. They were getting a lot of read aloud and shared reading, but no guided process reading. The instructional piece was completely missing, and it's been missing for years and years and years. What could you use that you've heard today to make your literacy plan or meet the needs of your students a little bit better? Could you take a few minutes and just discuss that, and then I want you to share just a couple of things. You're doing well. You're doing well. Basal series. They left this piece out. So your instruction was off balance. So the reason that this was developed in the first place was an effort to clarify the balance pieces. So it came right out of the grassroots of trying to work with the teachers in the school district. The teaching staff and a teacher in their own individual classroom has to balance those pieces. Every day, the flex group is not included. Grade level students who are below the standard do not receive guided process reading, are one of the crucial balance components. On an overall basis, having the children in groups on a daily basis is going to be more trouble than whole group. It's more trouble to teach that way. For 4th, 5th, and 6th, you say no?
I agree. 4, 5.
Even the first grade teachers and second grade teachers have to worry about, well, what are the other kids doing? So yes, I think it's a good idea to brainstorm good independent thinking activities. A few of those were given on the G video. They were cross-curricular things. We did some jigsawing, and one group did a timeline of Karana's time on the island, and then would chart that throughout the entire book. Several of the groups were given the task of collecting the facts about the sea animals, because the book is just full of factual information, so they had that job to do. And then they were going to share this with the rest of the class, so everyone was not making the timeline. So some of these things are cross-curricular, but for the most part, what are the other kids doing would be things that they need to do anyway. It's not tacked on. And we're not anxious for you to go back to any kind of center development or anything like that. Let me just give you one more reference, then I'll let you go. Look at H1. And you're going to see in the middle of the second paragraph a question. What are the other students doing? You may want to take your highlighter and highlight that. There's another question that's italicized just a little bit below that, about 5 lines. What is the instructional priority in the classroom? Some of you feel like your kids are always missing. And some of the children that need to be in a specific group might be pulled out for this and that and other things. So you have to start setting a precedence that during this time we're doing guided process reading and we're not going to have them scattered. Whatever works for you. Sometimes the Title I people come directly into the classroom to make that movement less. At the bottom of the page it says, it is definitely not recommended that the teacher spend hours creating activity centers or making folder games to keep the students involved. What we see is that these are natural extensions that complement the teacher's guided instruction. So one of the support meetings that you can have is to take your grade level text, as indicated here in the graphic in the middle, and to think of things that the students can do independently or with the help of a partner or their collaborative group, and then what things you have to teach or guide. But one way to know if your instruction is transferring would be to see if they can do it on their own and give them a chance after you've taught it, are they transferring? So you would see this type of transfer. After I teach something, can they then do it in a group? And then after that, can they do it independently? So it's a good thing to set up, because is your teaching transferring is what we're thinking about here. Looking for things in your grade level text that you need to do anyway, but kind of varying it just a little bit. Thanks for your attention today. I really appreciate it.